Welcome to Working and Wondering.
How you doing, y'all? My name's Chris, and I'm the guest today.
And I'm Martha, and I guess I'm the host today. And we're also Venturesome Couple.
That's right. So Martha is going to interview me about what?
How would Chris start a remote work career in 2025?
What makes me qualified to answer that?
Because you are a remote worker, and you've been very successful at it since 2020.
I'm also a chief human resource officer.
Yeah, for a Catholic nonprofit healthcare company.
So I might know something about remote work and HR.
Yes.
Sounds like this might be interesting.
It very well could be interesting.
Especially if you want to remote work and be an RV-aholic like we are. Where do we start?
All right. So entrepreneur or company employee? What are your thoughts?
I love the idea of entrepreneur. And I'm not saying anything against company employees. I love the idea. The hard part about entrepreneur is a lot of times to be most successful, you got to be stable in one location unless you're going to do something internet based. So entrepreneur, if you're interested and you have a skill set or a niche that would be well enough that you could support your lifestyle, I'd say that's cool. I love it because then you can control your own money. Now, company employee has some significant benefits over being an entrepreneur. It's instant money.
Yes.
It's instant benefits. You don't have to establish yourself nearly as quickly. Now, what about both?
Now, as a company employee, you have that paycheck that comes in all the time. Now, I'm an entrepreneur, so I can kind of attest to this. So my paychecks aren't so steady. I've got to hustle and work around the clock, have to do sales. I mean, we're both Venturesome Couple, but the business is under my name.
Right. So my recommendation would be, the answer would be yes, entrepreneur and company employee. Take that company employee job, especially if you can find a remote one, because you got the paycheck, you got the benefits, get you set. Then have your side hustle that works towards freedom and independence, which is the benefits of an entrepreneur. There's also a joke side of this, I'll tell you. So the benefit of working in a company is you work a 9 to 5. The benefit of being an entrepreneur, you work 5 to 9.
Yes. 5 p.m. to 9 a.m.
Hustle, hustle, hustle. But yes, you could do either one. Both are very viable options.
And we've been doing this for just over 3 years. So Chris is working for years, but a remote worker since, COVID, when the world shut down March of 2020. And we've been doing Venturesome Couple just a little over 3 years.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So what is your skill set?
Well, my skill set, HR. I mean, honestly, it's sales, it's HR. But the question is, what is your skill set to our audience? Because if you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you're an IT person, you do customer service, sales, marketing, you're a laborer, all those things matter. But what matters most beyond what your skill set is what you want to do. What can you tolerate?
Yeah. Do you want to be in person? Do you want to be remote? I mean, Chris, when we lived in Alaska, Chris actually had a remote doctor out of Florida. But when we bought a home base in Florida and left Alaska, he could no longer have access to his remote
Florida doctor.
Weird. VA.
VA government. So you need to figure out what your skill sets are. And I'm not talking skill set from jobs, right? I'm not talking if you work at, let's pick on Disney. If you work at Disney and you're in food service and you scoop noodles with your heart, as our daughter lovingly told us, your skill isn't noodle scooper. It's customer service, it's communication, it's de-escalation of conflict. It's providing customer service in a high-paced environment. Those are your skills. Your skills is what you use to accomplish the job you do. So you need to think deeper about what it is you can do. If you have hobbies that you love, you're probably better than most at whatever that is. Don't look past your hobbies.
No, I agree. Absolutely. All right. So passionate about the work or tolerate the work?
Let's be real. All work is work. That's why it's a 4-letter word. All right.
I'll say even in the RV space, I mean, let's be real. There's things that break down, or like us, we do a lot of modifications. We do our own tech work most of the time. And yeah, it's work.
It's work. But if it's work you enjoy, it becomes less work and more enjoyable. So tolerating the work might be what is required in order to achieve the goal of freedom or independence or remote working. So you have to figure out what makes the most sense for you in your situation and what you're willing to do versus what you're willing to tolerate. And there is a difference. And I'll give a prime example for me. I'm willing to do HR because I actually enjoy what I do. I'm not willing to scoop noodles with my heart at Disney.
And make dreams come true.
No, I'm not your dude. So you got to figure out where's your limitations on that. But where your passion lies, a lot of times will tell you where you might want to look for your entrepreneurial side, because you will offer something to the world that is uniquely you.
Yeah. And then let's kind of touch upon budgets, like build your budget. Like, how much money do you need to make?
I wish I could give everybody that answer, but I don't have a magic wand. But I can tell you that depending on how you wish to live a remote work life, whether it's traveling in an RV or it's just, hey, I want to work from home, the lower the need for funds or the smaller your budget, the easier it is going to be to accomplish that goal of remote work. And if you go out and you buy that beautiful Newell bus and you spend $1.5 million on it, you need a lot of damn money, and you better have a good budget.
Yeah, start playing the lottery like right now.
Right now. But if you go out and you buy a 3-year-old travel trailer to get you started on your adventures that you're able to find for like 15 or 20 grand, your need for a budget significantly decreases, which opens up a world of opportunity for you to be able to find work that will satisfy what your needs are. So remember, there's needs and there's wants, and you got to figure out what is the best balance for you. For us, our budget needs are high because we really want to retire. So we have to put away a lot of money in order to make sure we can retire when the time comes.
Yeah, and we have our new truck, our new travel trailer. We also have a home base. So there's those other things too.
Right.
Plus, we
healthcare. Never underestimate healthcare.
Healthcare. So our daughter had brain surgery last fall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that still costs money.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. The bank and mom and dad are paying for all those co-pays and doctor's visits. So those are things you have to think about when you create your budget. Just remember, the smaller the number, the easier it is going to be to accomplish it. If you have to have a $100,000 a year job and you want it to be remote, they're out there. There's significant jobs out there, but the skill set required on some of those jobs can be very demanding. HR being one of them. Doctors, so they have telehealth, things of that nature. Sales, marketing. So even if you find that magic remote job, there's still going to be travel associated with most of them when it comes to those high jobs.
No, I agree. Because right now we're on a work trip.
That's why you see this beautiful. Where are we actually?
So we are in Anaheim, California.
Anaheim. That's funny. We're on the 8th floor in the Marriott doing a podcast because, yes, this is where we're at. Work.
Work.
Yep.
All right. So we have here, determine if you can manage a hybrid job or do you need a remote job? So talk about the difference between hybrid and remote.
Yes. Hybrid is simply that you only have to go into the building, we'll say a couple of days a week. So you might have 3 days a week you can work from home, 2 days a week you got to work from the office. And you have to figure out whether or not those hybrid days are consecutive days or can they be bounced. The reason I say that is if it's 1 day a week you got to be in the office, and you can go into the office on Monday this week and you can go into the office Friday next week, guess what? That gives you 12 days in between that you can travel. So you can do out and back trips in those 12 days. But if those 2 days have to be every Tuesday and Wednesday, well, now you're limited to long weekends. So hybrid meaning partially remote, partially in place. Other part of that, remote, meaning you don't have to go in. And then there's also a version therein that's like predominantly remote. You'll see some of that. That's a newer term a lot of companies are using. Predominantly remote means occasionally you may have to travel somewhere for work trips. My job is predominantly remote. Right now, we are very busy on the travel. We've got, 3 trips in a 7-week period. And then we probably won't have anything for months after that. So those are the things you got to figure out. What are you going to tolerate, right? Are you willing to travel? And is it have to be hybrid, or can you make it, or does it have to be remote, or can you make hybrid work? I love the idea of making hybrid work and then long trips in between.
Yeah, that's ideal as well. Now, another thing you'd want to talk to your employer or future employer is if you are hybrid or remote and you have to travel into work, who pays for that?
That is valid because that changes company to company, situation to situation. You better get that in writing up front if you're going to start a remote work or a hybrid remote work career in 2025. And if you decide to do out and back trips, maybe let's go to say we'll go to Indiana because we had this scenario came up. My work pays from my work location to my work location. So from our remote work spot to the company spot. But if I decide to go to Indiana and fly out of South Bend, guess who that's on? That's on me because the cost difference between there may be greater than where our home location is. So know that up front and have it in writing. So one, you don't violate policy, but two, you can budget, again, budget for what that cost is going to be. So if I know that I have to pay out of pocket for each trip, then I need to budget $2,000 to $3,000 for every trip. That might make remote work not viable depending on what they're paying you.
Yes, no, I agree. Because there's also a thing that came up when you were allowed to go to like most states and have a home base.
Yeah.
So there are certain states that your company said, no, you can't live like Hawaii.
Hawaii is always the one. Can I move to Hawaii? No. Why? Because the cost of doing business in Hawaii is prohibitive for most companies unless they're actually in business in Hawaii.
Now, something interesting that came up with conversation at a campground with other friends that are remote workers or they're hybrid is they weren't allowed to travel outside of the state.
Yeah.
And like someone had lived in Texas, they were working in Texas, but worked from home, but they weren't allowed to go and like live full-time RV and travel in other states. So that was a big no-no that.
And also some of these remote work careers get a little touchy, just so you know. Companies will say that you have to be connected to a actual hardline internet. You have to use our company VPN that can see where you're at. So there's some companies that say, yes, you can remote work from home, but home is XYZ address at mainstreet.com and you better not leave there. That's as much being locked down as being in the building.
That's true. That's why one of our friends had left that job for a different job because she had to be plugged into a home internet and not a Wi-Fi.
And based on their VPN and their company's IT, they could see exactly where they sat. And that that might as well be an in-person job when you're not allowed to leave. So the travel aspect of that doesn't work well. So these are things that can pop up. So be thorough when you go to accept a job.
Yeah, because even Starlink, even though you have a dedicated address, like for your billing, that wasn't cutting it. That was a big no-no.
Yes.
All right. So, and then we kind of touched upon this a little bit. You got to determine which state you want to be employed out of.
Oh boy, does that matter significantly. Let's pick on California because we know California extremely well. California, if you're a remote worker and you're a California employee, you're paying taxes, period. There's no way around it. Even if you're out of the state for 6 months and a day and you try to play that game, just know every state is different. The cost of registration really matters. So part of what you have to think about when you're planning out your remote work career is where can I afford to live? Let's use Florida, for example. Everybody says, oh, Florida's great. There's no state income tax. There's very little sales tax in comparison to some states. But you know what there is a lot of?
Insurance. Insurance costs a lot there.
Automobile insurance, RV insurance is about triple what we used to pay in California and in Alaska.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a sticker shock.
Yeah, it's a car payment for insurance.
And there's like give and takes because like if you go to the state of Texas, okay, insurance may not be as bad, but you're also going to have to go in and bring your rig and truck in and have an annual inspection. I mean, there's like give and takes to each state.
Yeah, California has a big smog. You have to go in constantly and have it evaluated.
Yeah.
So think about not only what your state income tax is going to be, what those associated costs that we don't always think about, like you're saying, inspection fees, registration, insurance, whether or not you need a special license, depending on the type of trailer or RV you're going to buy.
Or jury duty. That's not on this list, but that's happened to me 3 times in a year and a half.
And you know what? They'll let you redo it once.
Yeah.
Key word being once, huh?
Once within 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when the second time, you're coming in. So guess what? We've had to leave Indiana and haul butt to get back to make sure you can get to jury duty. So
Yeah.
knowing wherever you're going to be living as a state of reference really matters, because your ability to get back there and do your mandatory duties and things of that nature is going to matter.
Yeah, because not all places are going to care that you're living the RV life and that you don't want to do your civic duty. They're like, no, bring your butt back in here.
You got wheels, you better roll on, roller coaster.
Boop, boop. Now, there's different types of work you can do. Instead of like steady remote work, entrepreneur and all that, there's gig work.
Yeah. And now that goes back to that whole budget thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you got a budget, let's make this super simple. If your budget is you need $2,000 a month, right? You can comfortably live. Computer tried to shut down on us. If you can comfortably live at $2,000 a month, you can probably take a job, work camping, because they don't pay that much, but they usually give you a pretty good discount or free for
a free spot.
Mm-hmm. Then in addition to that, you can do gig work. And what do you know is gig work?
So there's like Uber, Instacart, Lyft. There's all those type of
app-based work,
mm-hmm.
right? You can go grocery shopping for people on Instacart and you'll get tips and you get paid for that. So you can work camp your 20 hours a week and then gig work 20 hours a week. And if you only need 2 G's, you can live quite comfortable and you'd be fine.
Yeah, we have a longtime friend that works in LA, and he's a travel agent, but he also does gig work on the side.
He's a single guy. He's got nothing but time, so he just makes money.
Yeah.
Money.
And he just lives off a budget, and he knows, and he's got this down to a science. So give him mad props for that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so know that it's not always about like being an engineer, or it's not always about being a computer scientist. Mm-hmm. There's really cool variations on depending on what you're looking to do. I like the idea of gig work because you work your hours when you want. And I can tell you that we've taken a bunch of Lyft and Uber rides on all these airport travels. Like when we went from Indiana to Chicago, that dude made $300 off us on a one-way ride. So there is some decent money in it.
No, there is. And if you're one of our Uber Lyft drivers, have a great conversation with us. Don't try to sell us anything, and be pleasant. And guess what? You get tips.
Right? Yeah, don't go creepy on us, y'all.
We had one go creepy, and we're like, oh.
Terrible. So just know that the type of work really varies. So what would I do for a remote work career in 2025? I want to circle back on this a little bit. Yeah. First and foremost, figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
Second, keep an open mind and keep a small budget, and then you can do whatever you want to accomplish. Now, let's talk about how we get there.
How do we get there?
Leverage AI.
Yes.
Augmented reality, artificial intelligence, the evil internet, whatever you want to call it.
Assault intelligence.
Assault intelligence. That'd be banned.
I know.
It'd be high capacity intelligence. You can't have high capacity intelligence.
And there's stuff like Chat GPT. There's the new Google Gemini.
Copilot is Microsoft's version. And the reason I say leverage AI, if you upload your resume, it doesn't have to be well written, whatever you put together, into an AI and you say, what jobs am I qualified for into ChatGPT?
Yep, and write that.
I swear it will pump out jobs you've never thought about.
Yeah, and write all that from the heart, and then ask them to fix it, and they polish it. It's amazing how it comes out.
I was talking about it from the analysis standpoint of what types of job. But yes, Martha is 100% correct. If you put your resume into, I'm going to keep picking on ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. If you put it into ChatGPT and say, rewrite my resume in a business professional manner, it will rewrite it in a way that you and I would not be able to pull it off. I promise you, AI is a game changer. And then you have to go in and edit it to make sure that it matches what your qualifications and skills actually are. So it doesn't say that you're, a level 5 computer programmer and really you are barista.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
Like I said, upload your resume and then put in there, like, please tailor this to this type of job. Or something. The more information you give it, and you can send it back and say, add this or delete that.
Leverage AI. There's websites out there. They cost a little bit of money. Our daughter was talking to us about it. You can literally upload your resume and say, which jobs should I apply to? And based on your resume, it'll tell you which ones you're the highest likely to be selected as the candidate for. So there's a lot of technology out there. Leverage. I can't stress that enough. The other thing is, if you're not taking advantage of the search functions within AI, you're missing.
Yeah. So I used to be a recruiter for a healthcare company in Alaska, and I also was a job coach. So this is something that, like, Chris and I would used to do. So look at job boards, look at like LinkedIn, look at Indeed. You have on here Headhunters. I haven't used that.
So Headhunters is not a company, it's individuals. It's people like her that would be like, Dr. So-and-so, come work in Alaska. We'll give you all the money and move your family here.
See,
You're a headhunter.
Okay. I thought it was like some sort of app because it was in with all this.
Oh, but no. Martha was a headhunter. She would go and...
I was a behavioral health care recruiter for Alaska Native Hospital that serviced the whole state of Alaska.
And she would go to the conference and be like, oh my God, doc, you need to come work for me. So don't pass up headhunters. That's what I'm talking about on that. But the job boards where that can really help you. Now, I'm going to give you an insider tip, and you better not lie about your resume. If you see a job at XYZ Corporation and it tells you everything that's on there, and you take a copy of that and you put it into AI and you say, write a resume for this job, it will create an incredible resume for you. Ooh. But you better match the qualifications, because otherwise, when you come interview with me, I'm going to catch you.
And if I was still working a normal job making big money, I would have caught you too.
Big money.
Big money.
I missed that. We never saw that big. There weren't enough commas. I'm picking on you. Mm-hmm. So you get the point. Leverage AI, use the job boards, go on Indeed, go on to LinkedIn. Those are the two most popular. There's other ones. There's Monster. There's all kinds of stuff out there.
And also, too, I mean, this may be a chance for you to test out different career paths that you didn't think about before. Use the search functions on these job boards and just kind of see what fits your lifestyle, your budget. I mean, there's, see if there's benefits. There's all these different things. So, if you're looking at changing careers, this would be a great way to do it too. Test it out, see how it goes. If you're able to afford to.
If you change careers, generally speaking, you end up making less money.
Money.
Words are hard, y'all. So if you do, you will potentially. So when I went from law enforcement back into HR, I made less money in HR on my first job than I did as a cop. That's normal. When I went from the Air Force to being a cop, I made less money as a cop, right? Well, sometimes you do.
When I went from sales from a Fortune 500 company to recruiting, I dropped in pay, but I also gained in other ways too.
Oh, 100%, yes.
So there's a little give and take, obviously, when you change careers.
Yeah.
But if it makes you happy and you can afford it,
do it.
Do it.
You only get one go around on the sun, right?
Yeah. That's right. All right. So let's bring it back to you, Chris. So corporate ladder promotions, it's like, can you get corporate ladder promotions while a remote worker?
Yes, but you got to throw that big B in there.
What?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. You can chase your dreams of being a corporate executive and be a remote worker. It may be more predominantly remote or hybrid, but you can. The other thing you have to think about, there will come a time and place in your career where you will have to make a decision on what is the priority. Is it traveling and remote work, which means maybe you keep the job you're currently in? Or do I take that promotion knowing it locks me down to a hybrid job or a predominantly in-person job? That's something you're going to have to ask yourself, like, what's more important? I could say for me, our career and the growth, and I say our because what I'm doing is for the family. It's for Martha and I. It's so Callie has a good life. Our dog.
That's right.
But I'm willing to take the next promotion knowing it may put us predominantly in person. So that's something you have to think about. Where's your priorities? For us, our priority and focus is 100% getting to retirement, because once we get to retirement, then this no longer matters. There is no more career. It's just relaxing on the beach somewhere.
Yep.
So also, how does your significant other feel about this?
Yes.
Because if I say I want to take the promotion and we're going to move to podunk nowhere.
Or let's be real. If Chris is like one promotion away from being locked down to a desk again inside a building, cringe. Not home or remote, most likely. So we would have to move back to the West Coast, whether it's, like Washington State or Oregon or California. It's like, how do I feel about it? So
do you support it?
Yeah. So these are the conversations that we have because we think long-term goals. I mean, we've been married over 24 years. So this is, a conversation we've had.
Absolutely. But these are things you have to think about, right? You take that Let's say you take that customer service job working for Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, you're running their call center, or you're working in the call center, and they say, hey, you're awesome. We're going to promote you from call center rep. We're going to say you're going to be the call center manager. You got to move to Miami.
Welcome to Miami.
Right? Does that matter? Do you want to go to Miami? Or do you just say, no, I'm cool. I'm making all the money I need. We're work camping. We're gig working. I got this customer service job. I have the freedom to travel. That's what we want to do. That's okay. Yeah. Everybody's answer is different, but these are things I'm just trying to stimulate thought.
Yeah. And if it does come to that, I mean, the next question would be, okay, who pays for the move? Does your company pay for the move, or do you have to move yourself? I mean, there's all that rabbit hole that we could go down, but that's something else to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Relocation matters because good Lord, it's expensive.
It does. So, all right, let's talk about networking.
Well, what's your thoughts on networking?
It's very important.
I'm going to tell you something you're probably not used to hearing.
What's that?
Get out from behind the flinging computer. If you want to network, shake hands. The people running these corporations are a generation that are used to in-person handshaking. My bosses are all at that generation where they grew up with you to come in, shake hands, be able to hang out and get to know each other. Network. Now, you know all about this because this is where you would all swoop up Dr. So-and-so.
Yes. So networking's great. Those job fairs, career fairs, all those are important. Whether you bring your resume or not, or how you have your resume now, if you put it like on a card and you can upload it, send a link. I mean, there's so many different ways to do that now. But hiring events, conferences, all that matters. All that's important.
Yeah. Get on companies' mailing list. So I'm going to pick on Advent. They're a Florida healthcare company. We know them well because our daughter goes there for treatment.
Yeah.
So Advent has a job board or a career board. You go on to Advent Health. You can go in there. You can put in your email address and say, yes, notify me of openings. Well, you know what else comes with openings are, hey, we're having this hiring event in Orlando. We would love to see you there.
And that's another great thing that I would tell my clients is that if you're trying to get into a certain company, like a big company, sometimes you may have to take a lower job than what you're qualified for to get your foot into there. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how you climb the ladder. I mean, Chris went into his job as a business partner, and he's worked his way up from business partner to manager to acting director, and a couple more steps since then. It's just you learn and you grow with the company, which is great because it gives you more validation when things come up, and the longer you've been there, more things around the company.
Yeah, and if you know specifically a brand that you want to work for, do that. And there's no reason not to chase them. When I say chase them, keep track on what they're hiring. Figure out where their hiring fairs are. If they have a Facebook page just specifically to hiring, get on there.
Yes.
Get seen, get known, have the recognition, and have those conversations so that opportunity presents yourself in a positive light. Because remember, you're competing against
hundreds, thousands. It could be
thousands, could be 5, could be none. Yeah. There may not be an applicant. We have jobs that stay open for years because we're looking for that one unique skill set that is hard to find.
And sometimes it's a matter of in person when you have that connection, the interview. I recommend following their social media, learn about the company that you're applying for, because when it comes to interview time, that's going to be very important. Why do you want to work here? Don't be like, because I need a paycheck. I mean, that's cool and all, but say that in the back of your head, but tell them why. Right. You got to make sure that company aligns with your mission and values as well, too.
100%. And you should know what that company's mission, vision, and values are. Walking in the door, if I'm going to go to work for Nike, I love their shoes, right? If I'm going to go to work for Nikes, I'm going to figure out the little things that nobody else is going to think about.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out what their philanthropy efforts are. What do they do for the community? I'm going to figure out what their best sales product is and why, right? Whatever's relevant to you. If it's HR, figure out, go on and do some Google searches if they're having problems with staffing. Did they have a lawsuit, right? Know details about the company and the position that you're interviewing for. Go on to a website called Glassdoor.
Yes.
And look at reviews, right? Education is everything. And if you can drop nuggets of information about that company during the interview, they're going to know you took the time to research them. If you show up and say, I want a job, you're not going to get it. Most of the time.
Most of the time, no.
Right. Takes more than that.
No, it does. But like I said, follow all their socials and everything and educate yourself on the company that you're trying to get hired with.
The single most important thing you need to do is literally look at job boards every single day. Go into, I love Indeed. I'm a huge fan, not sponsored, but hey, Indeed, if you want to sponsor Venturesome Couple, holler at us. But we love Indeed because you can literally type in, it types in what type of job and what location. And you can leave the type of job open and you can type remote in the location. And literally every single job that Indeed has that is listed as remote will show up. And then you can search and search and search and search.
Yeah, and I would even go as far as like reaching out to family and friends and maybe put it on your social platform and say, hey, I'm open to a new career or new job, because someone might know something and say, hey, I have a friend, or I worked for this company before and I think you'd be a good fit. So it comes back to networking. So it may not just
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. They have that little button on there that says I'm open to work.
Yep. Don't hesitate to go into LinkedIn from networking standpoint. Just know you're going to get a lot of spam, people trying to sell you things, but not in like a negative, dirty way. It's just businesses trying to promote what they're doing. But if you do put that you're open to work and you do open your profile that anybody can see it, and you do actively post, hey, here's my skill set, here's my resume, here's what's going on. The people you know may know, just like Martha said, an opportunity that you are not aware of and can get you in the door.
And if you want to connect with us on LinkedIn, Martha Peters, Venturesome Couple.
There you go.
Add a connection. I'll accept.
So that's our big recommendations for 2025. It's getting ready to be a new year. And you're probably wondering, well, why 2025? I'm going to be real with you. Starting in about October, getting hired between then and January.
It's just going to be holiday season work. Now, if that's something you're interested in, a lot of the department stores like Bath and Body Works, stuff like that, they're going to hire for holiday season. So
you can, you're going to be going back and forth from wherever you're at to that. It's not going to be remote, but a lot of companies, it becomes very difficult during the holiday season.
It does. And especially like right after the new year. So always be looking.
Absolutely. And if you have specific questions, shoot them to us. Let us know. You can reach us at venturesomecouple.com and literally on every social media platform under Venturesome Couple. If you're listening to this on the podcast platforms, leave us a comment. We're on every podcast platform. We are quick to respond, and we do absolutely individually respond to everything.
Yep. And on YouTube as well.
We're there too?
We are there too. We're on the tube.
The tube.
We are on the line.
You will find that under Venturesome Couple on YouTube.
Yes. And great little movie, Internship.
Oh my God. That is
Vince
hilarious.
Vaughn and Owen Wilson. You got to watch it.
The Internship is your motivation to change careers.
It is.
And if you haven't been on the line, go look it up. You'll know what we're talking about.
Yes. I love that movie. It's my guilty pleasure. I ain't going to lie. It was a fun movie to watch.
So we hope this was informational.
Yes.
And go ahead.
Oh, and thank you so much for listening and or watching.
If it's on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. If this is on podcast, go to YouTube and subscribe. Right? Gotta get it there.
But most importantly,
enjoy every moment.